What's up, everybody? Welcome to Goaltending, where your why is bigger than your excuses. I hope you came ready to party in the new year because we have an incredible guest here to talk about living life to the fullest and keeping the party going even once we're gone. And before I introduce our guest, I want to say we appreciate you all allowing us to be a part of your journey. I truly can't say thank you enough, which is why all I ask is that you share the episode. Show some love with likes, subscribes, comment with your thoughts and questions to join the conversation. This is going to be one of those perspective shifting episodes. So I want to challenge you, let it sink in and apply what works for you in your life, in your journey. And without further ado, I want to introduce our guest. She is a celebration of life coordinator and a videographer and brings a unique viewpoint on life and the joy and memories we leave behind. She's also an author, has over 15 years of experience as a motivational speaker with a focus on mindset, having that mindset of we get to instead of we have to. When I met her, I was really touched by her story and how she started to a point that I had goosebumps, and I was very moved, and I immediately asked her if she would be on the show to share some of that story. I felt the genuine connection from the passion in which she presented it. And she really does it all as an entrepreneur, as a mother. I'm so excited to have you here. Denise Metzger, welcome to the show.
Yeah, no, my pleasure.
So first, thank you for taking the time because that's our most valuable asset. So for you to take the time to share your story and to help others grow really means a lot. So let's just start off with your background, your story of how you got into the celebration of life, event planning, and videography.
Sure. Well, my daughter was diagnosed with leukemia when she was 12. Her name is Janae. And we were off and running. She woke up with leg pain. And by 1 o'clock that afternoon, we were at Cozier Children's with a leukemia diagnosis. They were going to confirm it the next morning with a bone marrow aspiration and spinal tap. And I sat out in the hallway trying to process things. And the first thing that I heard was a scripture from the Bible, like maybe this is like Abraham being asked to sacrifice Isaac. And in that story, I know the story, he didn't actually sacrifice Isaac. He got to keep him. It was a test in faith. Now, I don't believe God tests us like that anymore. That was Old Testament, right? And because I was still in a church with a scripture at that point, I was like, well, it's test and faith, we'll pass it. But then I heard a voice right behind it say, what if it's not? And I interpreted that to mean, what if I don't get to keep her? Like Abraham got to keep Isaac. Yeah. And somehow I made peace with that possibility. I always talk about a spiritual wisdom because I feel like that's what guides me. It's a voice and it's wiser than me. And when I listen to it, I end up receiving surprise gifts and empowerment and strength that I wouldn't maybe if I was listening like to my own thoughts.
Yeah.
So I realized that I wouldn't be the first mom if I didn't get to keep her. In that sense, I would not be the first mom that was asked to let go of a child. And I would look for mothers that were living their life and forging ahead positively as my example of to follow. And of course, I thought of Mary and Jesus. And then I Janae been bullied and come home crying from school every day. And I thought of I'm a mother of 5. So I thought of my 5 children. She doesn't fight the bullies at school. How's she going to fight cancer? And these are all thoughts that I'm thinking. And there was a response, like this inner dialogue that was coming, right?
Yeah.
And I heard that the only way that she was going to make it was to find one good thing, no matter how much it was surrounded by bad. One good thing and cling to it. Now, I was raised by a perfectionist and I was a perfectionist. So I was really good at finding the flaw. If there'd be a lot of good things, I would find the thing that was not good or not right. And in hearing that voice, they say you're motivated by inspiration or desperation. I was pretty desperate to figure out how I rewired myself to lead Janae and finding the good when it was surrounded by bad. Yeah. And so we started keeping gratitude journals. I heard to turn your have-tos into get-tos. And it really has, I have been wired now. If I heard you say have to, if I read have to, if I was listening to a podcast or a speaker say have to, in my head, I'm converting it to find the get to in it. And a lot of times when I suggest that life's a surprise party, parties are more fun with games. And I feel like life's favorite game to play with me is truth or dare because I'm wacky enough to take the dare and find a new truth. And so that's how it started is trusting a plan that maybe we don't know or understand, and that there's a purpose in it. And Carolyn Mize is an author that I've read, and there's a book called Sacred Contracts. That kind of feels right to me, that maybe we signed on, knew what we were coming here to do, like that life, that's the one I'm going to live, or that's the purpose, that's the role I'm going to serve. Oh, and wow. We wouldn't remember it. If we remembered it, we wouldn't have the human experience that we came for. Right. So I'm of the thinking that our spirit came into this body to have this human experience, but we are more than human, and try to, find the balance where you have the spiritual and the human, and allow yourself to feel all the feels. Like, I don't think we should deny grief or not feel the things that don't feel good, but I'm also, are you familiar with the Enneagram?
With what?
The Enneagram.
Enneagram. I am not.
It's like a personality test.
Okay.
And I'm a 7 on the Enneagram, and I didn't know that at the time. I'm just like within the past couple of years. But when I look back, I am so wired to find the positive or the fun or the joy.
Okay.
That's innately who I am. So I will seek the perspective that allows me to have fun and be positive, even in the most surprising circumstances, which is what happened along this journey.
Wow. So when did you take the Enneagram?
Just a couple of years ago.
Okay.
But now I listen to the podcast and stuff, and I'm like, oh man, they're calling me out as a 7. Like, I listened to one this one, and it's so fascinating. It's like my favorite thing to do. Human behavior and psychology and different personality types, whether it's love languages or the Enneagram number or, whatever, to relate, to understand who you are and how you relate to people that are different, and how beautiful it is that we're diverse and we're wired in different ways.
Right.
To observe that. When I found about the Enneagram, like I said, I have 5 children, and we're all a different number.
Yeah.
And it really gave me a lot of clarity in some of the ways that I relate to my boys, different ones, when I knew what their number was and how they're wired, and then to not take it personal. The 4 agreements. Don Miguel Ruiz.
Okay.
So the 4 agreements are to be impeccable with your word, to take nothing personal, to make no assumptions, and to always do your best. And I do them in reverse. My best is to not make an assumption and to not take it personal. And I taught my kids that when they were young. Like, we would be going to school, and I would be quizzing them on the 4 agreements, because they're simple, and it's something that would behoove all of us if we were mindful of the 4 agreements and working them. What I did not know when I taught my kids was that they would call me out on it. Like, something would be happening, and one of them would say to the other, "It sounds like Mom's taking something personal," or "Mom, are you making an assumption right here?" So I had my own little accountability beings around me.
So, question on the Enneagram: do you think that you would have scored the same before, or do you think it's something that kind of developed into you scoring that high on it?
That's an interesting question, because initially I thought maybe I was a 4 on the Enneagram, because they're like emotional and creative.
Okay.
And I, kind of thought I was a 4.
Yeah.
Because I cry every emotion. I cry when I'm angry, when I'm happy, when I'm joyful, or sad.
I think a lot of people can relate to that.
I don't cry. I don't find myself being as emotional anymore. I think because my second nature has become to find the peace or the joy and the faith and the love and move forward in that. Not that I don't get stuck in seasons of where I'm not naturally in those places, but I am innately wired. And there are different levels. Like, there's an unhealthy, a healthy, and a third one that I don't remember of that number. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So you can be operating as an unhealthy one, because there's 9, or healthy. And then there's subtype. It sounds complex, but it's not. It's like it's one of the easier ones, I think, to understand and to grasp and remember than maybe Myers-Briggs or something like that. Yeah.
I was like, I've heard of several different personality tests. I hadn't heard of that one specifically. There is one that I've taken several times over the years. And there's some core character strengths that may stay there. Yeah. That's always like a character strength every time I take it. But I've had some others that have shifted around, I think, due to like life events and learning, just the experiences that you have throughout life, kind of forcing or leading you to grow in different ways.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Well, in the videos that I do, and I did mine first, and you probably have questions or something, we'll go back to that. But in my video, so I do these life bio videos where I get friends and family to share stories and descriptions of the person that's being celebrated in the video. And that's kind of what I have as a surprise for my boys. So there won't be a eulogy, but somebody didn't know me and the life not really captured or celebrated. I want people to leave that celebration inspired and to know that I lived life fully. And this started with Janae, the celebration of life and the video. Interesting though, like when I went back and found some high school friends to include in this video. So, there are people that my kids haven't met, sharing stories that my kids haven't heard.
Yeah.
But back to the traits that you have that are innate and have been there all along, like some of the descriptions were how driven or tenacious or optimistic or always for the underdog. And that was a really fun surprise for me.
Yeah.
I was not anticipating that, for the world to mirror back to me that I've always been the same person, wired in the same kind of way, which is really cool. Yeah.
That is cool to see and to hear back, and a surprise in terms of not knowing if people perceive you the way that you perceive yourself.
Yeah. Right.
I like that. Let's real quick. There's a couple things I want to hit on so that people understand some of the things that we're saying in the episode.
Ahead. Yeah.
First, let's talk about, hopefully you're watching the video today instead of just listening to this on audio.
I mean, look at that.
Because
or this.
We're pretty wacky today. And it's so much fun. I'm so glad that Denise is here and helped me with my setup today. But will you just explain why we're dressed this way and the story behind it?
Absolutely. So in this journey, Janae was going through a bone marrow transplant. So she went through 2.5 years of chemo. And we thought that she was a survivor and we were done, but she quickly relapsed. And then we got to aggressively prepare and get ready for a bone marrow transplant. We were at Cincinnati Children's, and she was missing Spirit Week at school. She was bummed that she wasn't going to be there for Wacky Wednesday. And this is when I kind of like that divine voice takes over, because I wasn't thinking it. I just blurted it out. Well, we don't have to be in Sellersburg at Silver Creek to get wacky. Like, you could dress me up and I'll dress you up and we'll do our own Wacky Wednesday. And she lit up like a Christmas tree just at the thought of it. And I thought it was for that one day. Surprise! The staff, we created smiles for the staff and other patients and families on the floor. And when I went to the cafeteria that day, my husband at the time didn't want to get on the elevator with me. He didn't want people to know that we were together, or, I'm walking several feet ahead of him. And it was just natural smiles and giggles that were unfolding. And so Janae and I decided that we would do it each week while she was in recovery. And it was like a time release of giggles and joy, because on Tuesday we'd be thinking about what we're going to wear on Wednesday, and then Wednesday would be wacky all day, and then Thursday we would still be laughing about something that happened on Wednesday. So as I share now why I do this, I'm an intervention of silliness and smiles in a world that's very sad, stressed, sick, and serious. And so I can surprise people, with us. But that's how it started. Yeah.
I think it's
15 years later, still doing it.
Yeah. Well, first off, that's impressive in itself to carry it on. And it's beautiful because, like you said, we live in a world that is very serious, and we forget to have fun and to enjoy life and to party. Right. Life is supposed to be a party, right?
Yes.
And so we forget that. So I think it's awesome that you do it. And I see on your social media, like ever since we've met, I see every Wednesday, the smiles that you put on people's faces with it. The world needs more of that.
Yes.
More of that, just letting it out, just smiling, just being wacky.
Right.
Let's get into the 4 kinds of parties real quick.
Okay.
Because we'll throw some terms out that are not necessarily common knowledge to people.
Right.
So let's talk about the 4 kinds of parties. That way we can just get into the conversation more.
Okay.
And people will know what we're saying.
Right. Okay. So initially, in the negative or positive or finding the good or finding the gift and everything, it was given to me, I guess, or I have lived that life's a surprise party. But if you're hosting a pity party, you're missing out on life's surprises. So the pity party is not clinging to the things that are good, right? They're focused more. Somebody's hosting a pity party as a victim and complaining and whining or giving voice, their thoughts and energy to negative things that they don't want. But in the surprise party, you learn to say thank you for the unasked for gifts, and people will show up in your life that you wouldn't have invited, and you still get to be gracious and know that there's a gift in it. That you can find the good, you can convert. I don't even have bad in my vocabulary anymore, because I believe everything can be worked for good or can be used to contribute to the collective of good. But then I also have a trans son that taught me about the masquerade party and how debilitating it is to pretend like you're somebody that you're not, or try, for us to force people to be somebody that they're not in order to show up at our party. So there's the masquerade party that's debilitating. And the slumber party is kind of in the same camp as the pity party. It's there, you're just not complaining, like you're not vocalizing things that are bad or that you don't want. You're asleep to the things that you take for granted, or asleep to the good,
Yeah.
So they're close. Like I said, the pity party is just more vocal, where the slumber party is you're sleepwalking through life and not cognizant, or ramping up the volume to things that are good that you have. Because you can always find somebody that's going through something harder than you are.
True.
And it's easy to find. So I say, you're given these invitations to these parties all day long, multiple times a day. And it's easy for you to slide into the wrong party and be like, oh, no, abort.
Right.
I'm out. I'm going wrong address. I'm going back to the surprise party. It takes practice. I mean, I've been doing it for a while. And I find that that's the way to stay in joy and peace and gratitude and faith, is to check yourself and to be in the surprise party and be grateful for the things that are the package. The present can be wrapped in pain and disappointment. Yeah. And you can still unwrap it and find a gift that you're grateful for, which with Janae's party hop, that's another word that I use for death.
Party hop.
So, and I have skeletons dressed for party. Did you see those in my car?
I did not catch that. Okay, I'm going to see that after the show.
They've been there for 3 or 4 years, but I have skeletons that are in my car year round. My mom thinks that her baby was switched at the nursery. She doesn't know how I'm hers. She hates the skeletons. But they're my little guerrilla marketers so I can promote that life's a surprise party. And the last breath doesn't mean the party's over. It's party over for your body, but the spirit party hops onto the next venue. And that's why I use the term party hop. And surprisingly, it's and a wonderful surprise. A lot of people embrace that terminology and let me know that they're going to start using that terminology. And actually, one of my video clients this year had metastatic breast cancer. And her family, after I did the video, created the video for her, before they even saw the video, the finished product, they asked me if I would come to her celebration of life and share the party hopping message with the friends and family there. So,
wow. Yeah. That's powerful. I also like the party hop, so I would like to incorporate that.
Please do. Everybody start me. This is bigger than me. Like, I want everybody to start changing. Like at the networking thing where we met, that's one of the things that I say is that I'm changing conversation, expectation, and experience around death and dying, so that we can feel the void and honor that there is sadness, and really ramp up the volume on we wouldn't be sad if the life hadn't have been such a gift, and to focus on the gratitude for the gift more than the mourning of a death or a party hop. See?
Oh, yeah.
How do you mourn a party hop? No, you don't.
We're just going to the next
that
party.
Would make sense.
Right. The party keeps going.
Yes.
I like that you brought up that gratitude is a practice. Like, it's not just I'm grateful or I'm happy all the time. Like those things don't just happen. It requires consistent practice in training mindset. So I love talking about mindset. I've had several guests on the show that we've talked about mindset, mental health, different things like that. So just for you to be focused on gratitude in terms of your motivational speaking and having that I get to approach to life. Can you talk about how that mindset and practicing that mindset, how that's impacted your life and the reason behind, wanting to share that with others?
Sure. Well, it goes back to me hearing to find the one good thing, no matter how much it's surrounded by bad, the one good thing, and cling to it. So I knew about gratitude journals. We had not really started practicing keeping gratitude journals. And what we found in that practice, we were writing in our gratitude journal at the end of the day, 5 things that we were grateful for. And it was a lot of this, we kept being repetitive, that we were grateful for family and food and doctors and insurance. And not that that's not a good thing, but you'll appreciate this, like being in the gym and working out. It's like if you're lifting a 2-pound dumbbell every day. It's not a bad thing, but it's not going to make you stronger, right?
Right.
So the harder the practice, the stronger you get with it. So then, and I don't remember how it came to be, but we started doing our gratitude first thing in the morning.
Okay.
So then we were already in a gratitude, positive mindset to start the day, not waiting until it was over and then reaching back, trying to find something. Like we were in the mindset of doing, and to give thanks for things that we had never given thanks for before. So that really ramped up the workout for the gratitude muscle.
Yeah.
To do it in the morning, which oddly not, like that's for me, gym time. If it's first thing in the morning is best for me. And to this day, you can't see them, but I have false eyelashes on today now, and eyebrows and eyelashes are completely different now than they were 15 years ago. But when the day that Janae was sad that she didn't have eyelashes and eyebrows and gave voice to wanting to have them back was the first day that I had ever thought to give thanks for my eyelashes. And so to this day, seems like it wasn't a small thing that day. I remember it was a really tough day, but the fact that these tiny little miracles I'd never given thanks for before and what they do, and that, not everybody has them, gave me an energy and actually a joy in that day that was difficult because of how many more things there are for me to find and give thanks for that I hadn't, like a game almost kind of, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so we both did that. And I still have gratitude journals of hers that I go back and look at, or my book is really the memoir that I kept. So there's a lot of gratitude practice in there, but it started with, like I said, out of being motivated, out of desperation to lead and guide her on how you find the good. And clearly if you find the good, give thanks for it. And so gratitude is way much bigger than my grief has ever been.
Yeah. So as a master resilience trainer in the military, one of the skills that I taught in that course is called hunt the good stuff. So it's right in line.
The same thing. Yeah.
It's gratitude. That's just what the Department of Defense's program calls it. So hunt the good stuff. And it talks specifically about gratitude journaling and how by practicing consistently, by gratitude journaling consistently, your mind starts to gravitate naturally
yes,
seeing and recognizing the good things that are happening in your life.
Yes.
Where I've seen people start to challenge themselves. They'll get to the end of a day, and when they first start, they have a very hard time even thinking of 3 things from the day that they were grateful for. So first off, I love that you said do it in the morning.
Do it in the morning, and at least 3 out of 5 or 1 out of 3 be something that you've never, because then you're hunting or mining for it. You know what I mean? And it becomes more of a natural thing. Same thing with turning your have tos into get tos. Like, people a lot of times misunderstand what that is. And they think that I'm talking about saying get to about the easy things that there are that you get to do. But no, I'm talking about when you really want to say have to and you're miserable or frustrated and not wanting to do it, to turn that into a get to. And my strongest example for that, and I probably shared it with you the day that we met, like this was, again, 15 years ago. Now my filter is very strong. But back then, it on this particular day that I'm getting ready to share, it was three tries, or hearing have to 3 times before I looked for the get to. So Janae wanted to be cremated, and we were going to bury her ashes at the cemetery. And in the shower, I'm very naturally, what mom wouldn't or parent wouldn't, I'm thinking I have to bury my baby today. And I'm feeling the grief and the heaviness and the sorrow, of course. As I'm getting dressed, I'm still thinking I have to bury my child today. And then by the 3rd time, because I guess of the practice that we had started and starting to become natural, by the 3rd time, I said, Lord, I know there's a get to, but I can't find it. Please help me find it. And that spiritual wisdom, like, I don't know if it's Janae, I don't know if it's God. And I'm at the point now where I don't care. Like, we're collected and we're unified. So I don't really need to name where the voice is coming from. But I heard that voice say, after I said, please help me find the get to, only one woman in the entire world, one, got to be Janae's mom. And she's the one that gets to release her back into heaven's care. And so beyond human understanding, I'm so grateful that I got to be her mom, that it really is hard to believe that I don't cry, or I'm not more sad, or that grief didn't get, and I share all the time. It's not that it doesn't come at all. It's a brief shower. It's never like a tsunami or a storm that overtakes me. And I had a lot of people initially think that it wasn't true, or it wasn't genuine. I was actually at an event in California trying to figure out how I published my memoir for a book.
Mm-hmm.
And a famous author came up to me because I had these Purple I Get To bands that I was giving out. And she was like, until you get mad at God, you're not going to heal. Like, this is denial and this is not healthy for you.
Mm.
And I was like, and I would like start to question myself. I'm like, should I be mad? Like, I'm trying to make myself angry at God. And I'm like, but I'm not. I mean, I can't make myself feel something that I'm not feeling. And it wasn't a denial thing. And I remember getting on the elevator and heading to my room. So I was there sharing a room with somebody. And when I got to the room, I was in tears, like I said, every emotion crying. And I was so frustrated. And my roommate, she was like, so are you angry at God? And I said, yeah. But not because he took Janae, because he keeps surrounding me with morons. I can't be grateful and I have to feel grief, Yeah. So it's kind of funny, but it is a natural thing and it is possible. And that's what I want to be, as a picture of possibility that you can let go of a loved one. We don't lose them. That's another thing that I'm trying to change in the dialogue. I have not lost Janae.
Yeah.
I've lost the opportunity to do that and to talk to her like this way.
Right.
But I still talk to her, I still feel her. She lives in and through me and everything that I do. And I feel her rooting me on and get goosebumps when I talk about her and things all the time. So I invite people to join me in that and not using that terminology that we've lost them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's such a powerful story. That is the story you shared with me. What gave me goosebumps and gave me goosebumps again. It is a powerful story and so many great things to learn from it. So I appreciate you sharing it and helping others grow with that story. In terms of in that story and talking about the her choosing cremation, it made me think to my wife and I have several times we get into the conversation of what we would like for when it's our time to party. So we've talked about, do we have a funeral? Do we have a celebration of life? Do we have some kind of combination of the two?
Yes.
I assume that's probably fairly common when people decide to have that conversation.
Yes.
I think maybe some people try to avoid it.
Right.
But then as you see loved ones pass or party hop, as you see loved ones do that, it does kind of make you think, okay, what will I do or what should I do when it's that time? And so one of the things that we come to as we talk about, whatever we decide to do, it's for the people that are left behind for us.
Yes.
Not for us.
It can seem like it, especially in what I'm doing. It can seem like that's the case. But I'm not going to say too much about what my boys are going to experience because I don't want it to get back to them. Yeah. I do share it a lot though.
So you don't have to share what they're doing, but I love the concept. So I think you told me a little bit about it. They
do know that there's a surprise party. So with my insurance policy is the number. And I hope I have a team and I have my own event planner or, that know, but just in case, because everybody thinks they have more time. We don't know. We're not all going to have a diagnosis that gives us a heads up. For most of us, it's going to be a surprise when that last breath comes, and my boys know that the first one that finds out that I have party hopped, they don't call the other siblings and say, Mom's gone. She's dead. We lost her. When they hear it's party time, they know what that's code for because they know that I have a celebration of life planned. They know that there's an event planner, that they don't know the details. They just reached out to the event planner. She knows what the budget is. She knows what my non-negotiables are. My oldest will roll his eyes and be like, Jesus, she's still here. And that's perfect. That's what I want. But it is for them to make them laugh. It may seem like it's about me. No. I want to push up on the joy and my God, that was my mom and that I lived a full life. And I want them to know that or be reminded of that. And I want the people that come to support them. Because, so many times you go to a funeral and you don't know the person that passed, the wife or the son, or you're there for the family member and you hear a eulogy by somebody who didn't know them. Yeah. Or a sermon. It's not even a eulogy. Like it's nothing about them. You know what I mean? And I want those people also that I haven't met to be inspired and maybe think about life and the party hop differently. So even as I go out, I'm hoping that I make a difference in the positivity and the perspective challenge or dare to expand out of the box and consider what else is possible. So whether it's having a conversation with spouse or family, that gets to happen first. And for them to know, if I hadn't told them, then they may not know, what to do or they know for sure. There's no guessing.
Yeah.
And a lot of times people say they want a party and not a funeral, but that's still going to put it on the family to figure out what the party is. And I want my kids to show up for the experience. You're not, people that do the traditional funeral aren't making the coffee, prepping the body, setting up chair. They show up so they can have the experience if that's what they choose.
Yeah.
If somebody wants a celebration, I want the family to be able to show up for the experience and not be trying to figure out how to plan it or what they wanted.
Right.
And my boys, even if I had said I wanted a party instead of a funeral, wouldn't have created the surprise party that with the details of what I've put into that for them.
Yeah.
So
no, I mean, first off, I don't think that it's a selfish thing at all, or like doing it for you.
Right.
I think it's incredible to leave the energy and the memories that you lived your life with, to leave that to continue the party.
Yes.
As you party hop. So I think that's fantastic. I recently went to a celebration of life, and it was a friend of mine who lost a parent, and it was very hard on them planning.
Yes. Because they're taxed emotionally and financially. And yes. And I will say this started with Janae too. Janae dreamt, first of all, Janae was at peace with that she was party hopping. Like she knew, and she want people to be sad. She want people to be worried. And she dreamt that she was a star in the hospital. And I assured her that she was a star. And I sent out a memo that we weren't going to do a traditional visitation or funeral. We were going to celebrate Heaven's Newest Star with a red carpet premiere of her live tribute video at the Grand, which is a historical theater in downtown New Albany. So that's where that's where this whole concept started, even though it was many years later. Like the seed was planted then, as far as what's possible. To this day, when I run into the lady that runs the Grand, we talk about the standing room only and the joy and the fun. And you don't do that when you're revisiting thinking about a funeral, So that's where it started. In 2016, I thought maybe I was getting ready to party hop and that my body and spirit were done collaborating. And I thought, if I don't figure this out, my kids are going to be at a funeral home hearing "I'm sorry for your loss" for 5 hours, which is the absolute opposite of what I would want to happen.
Yeah.
And that's when I found out and realized that there isn't a solution for somebody that wants to have a radical celebration or like a roast of them that makes people laugh. And funeral directors, Dignity Memorial that advertises that they do these celebrations. When I told them what I wanted, they dropped their planner on my table and said, "You're like an Irish wake on steroids and we can't help you." I was like, "What? I need help." And event planners didn't want to meet with me because I couldn't tell them the date of the event or how many people were going to be there. So they didn't take me serious to even have a consultation. So that's what spurred. So there was a sense of urgency. I can't really be so critical of somebody that doesn't want to talk about it now or doesn't feel a sense of urgency, because I did have a sense of urgency. I thought like that I was getting ready to party hop, and I wanted to make sure. I've had two different instances in my life where I thought, oh, here it comes. And interesting enough, I wasn't scared. That's another gift. That's a part of the surprise gift that I feel like Janae gave me. I'm not afraid of dying as much as I'm intrigued by it. Things that she said. She kept saying there's so many people in and out of her. She had a brain bleed from the high dose steroids towards the end. And so she'd be in and out of being coherent, and what really wasn't the same with us after that. And so in and out of her consciousness, she just kept saying there are so many people. And one day I put her in a wheelchair to take her outside to get some fresh air. And she said, "I'm confused." And I said, "What are you confused about, baby?" And she said, "You're not my real family. My real family's here to get me."
Oh, wow.
And of course, and again, in that humanness, I wanted to hug her and be like, "I'll always be your mom." But at that higher wisdom, whatever, was like, "Shh, just think about it." And then I had a peace to let her go.
Yeah.
And then, when I heard only one woman in all the world got to be her mom, and she's the one that gets to release her into heaven's care. Like, I'm thinking heaven's care is a heavenly family. And so it all kind of just came together to miraculously give me a peace and a joy and a gratitude around something that most people don't get to experience or aren't open to. And maybe if I can help assist or facilitate other people to have that experience, that's what I'm wanting to do and feel like I'm called to do, is to show people there's another way. Yeah.
I think that's an incredible story to take one of life's hardest challenges, or maybe even the hardest challenge life could throw at you,
right?
And to turn that into an opportunity to live life with gratitude and to help kind of show that way to others, to help others find that. So in terms of taking that into the opportunity, into finding the business, and having the passion and the strong why behind the business, what challenges have presented themselves that, challenge you to keep going along the way, or what's been your biggest challenge to stick with it over these 15 years where you've kept this going?
Well, back to that, what I said, high school, my perseverance, I think perseverance and faith. I even now, I can't see around the bend to know exactly how this unfolds or what. And I've had a lot of detours and things. For me, there's a market that wants to be served. There's a whole death positive movement happening. And yet it's hard for me in networking or meeting somebody to explain what I do, because it's kind of like been a reverse engineer thing. I have more people hire me to do the videos, and not even as a eulogy alternative, than I do when I created the business and thought the market was going to be people like me that wanted to plan their celebration or to do their video. I'm hired more by a family member to do a video to express that somebody's loved or appreciated or how they're seen. And so the market's moving on me, or not even rising to meet me where I'm ready to, because it's such a new concept, and it's complex, and it takes time, multiple conversations with somebody for them to understand what I do with the videos, or that it's not all about death, that I'm helping to live differently so that you die differently. And so there's so many layers or things to communicate. It's not like, do you want to make more money, or do you want to lose weight? Or it's not, it's hard. It's, that is still my biggest challenge as far as having a consistent market client income, that's a stream that's continually happening, because it's so new and I'm pioneering or blazing a trail of some kind.
Yeah. So if I understand it right, the challenge is that you know what you want to offer. Like I have this incredible service, and it's not something that people are used to. So people are asking for something else, and you're able to deliver on what you're offering, but it's not the product, the service that you like envision. Is that correct?
Right. Well, we are in a society of instant gratification, or what's of importance now, right? And people want to make money now, or find their mate now, or lose weight now. They're not thinking about something like that. Their party hop could be now.
Yeah.
So it's the sense of urgency, unless there is a diagnosis, and then those people, reach out to me. So that's where I'm gravitating to, I guess, are more hospice or of diagnosis related. Although what I ultimately want to do is that we're not waiting for that. Like, it's all a part of, if you're thinking about final expense or retirement, or like, that's all part of a plan, and you're thinking about it now, that it's never too early. And it's challenging because everybody thinks they have more time, or,
So that's a huge challenge to get people to shift their mindsets. But I love it when you explained it to me. I was like, man, maybe it's because I'm big on shifting mindset and looking at new ways of thinking and stuff like that. I keep a very open mind, and not everybody has that open mind approach to things. So for some people, once they believe something, they are like set on it.
Yes.
And so how you get through to that demographic, I don't know. But the people with open mindsets and hearing the story, I think that through continuing to have the conversation and put it out there and find avenues to put it in front of people, I do think that it has an impact.
Yes, and it's not going to be for everybody. You know what I mean? Everybody needs it. Everybody's going to take their last breath on party hop. They may want traditional funeral. They may not want celebration. They may want celebration and still not be ready to talk about it. And no matter how passionate I am or kind of want more to happen, like another gift, and what I learned from Janae is surrender, and what I can control and what I can't. I can't control anybody else's choices. I certainly can't control when they take their last breath or how. You know what I mean? So the way that I keep responding to that is trusting that I'm where I'm meant to be and going to keep following the divine dots or the dares. And maybe things are happening that I don't see are happening, and be okay with it. But I do joke a lot with, like, you sent Jesus 12, send me a couple. Whether it's business partners or builder, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or like people, even with the celebration of life, sometimes even with the videos, they're like, maybe you don't need to do that. Like, don't think so big, think smaller. And I get that. And then I also like, I use Dr. Seuss to inspire me. I use the Bible, like everything. I use everything as a source of something to inspire me. But I joke, like, Noah didn't say, I can't build an ark, I'm going to build John boats. I feel called that this is something massive, and I may or may not see, like the Wright brothers or whatever. They didn't know what was going to happen with the planes or whatever after they developed the one,
Sure.
and how it took off and went. So I don't know. I'm doing my best to show up for the surprise party every day, receive the gifts and use them and share them, and trust that that's ultimately what I get to keep doing, is showing up for the party, and I will be guided.
Yeah.
Because I'm 15 years in, so.
Right.
And I'm not letting up. It's the one thing that I feel is like my unique thing that I will not. I'm so big on words and the power of words, so I don't want to say that, that Janae party hopped in vain. If I were to, it's not like pressure I'm putting on myself. It's like, I know that this is a unique gift that I was given, and that it's so many people go their whole life and don't feel like they know what their purpose or their calling is, and I do.
Yeah.
And it may not equate in a report that I might want to see as far as how many clients I have or if it's profitable or whatever. But
when you find your purpose, those other things don't matter.
That's your why. That
it's your why.
You just keep going back into it. Like, it's not the how or the when or the what.
Yep. I'm glad you found your purpose and your why.
Thank you.
Because I think there's a lot of people that don't find it in life, because they are in the slumber party a lot of times, or the pity party.
Or they don't know how to say thank you for the gift. Like, it plops right down in their lap, and they're like, no, I don't want that one.
Right. And just miss it completely.
Yeah.
I would love to get into your Annie Ann story.
Okay.
So it wasn't even a planned topic for today. And on her social media, I see as a surprise party. And there's so many lessons to learn from it. So I just want to ask you to share your Annie Ann story.
Okay, sure. Well, Janae, I joke all the time too that she was like a mini me. I mean, we yin yanged. If there was a day that I wasn't being positive or maybe finding the gift, she would. Like, first I'll say before I go into the Annie Ann's thing, like, she relapsed twice, and both times that I was dreading telling her, she shocked me with what her reaction was, especially after the bone marrow transplant. So she had relapsed and gone through and the bone marrow transplant was a horrific thing for her. And that's another thing that I say. She paid the price to give us time. We knew it was coming. We had time to prepare, whereas somebody passes suddenly, at least they didn't suffer. That's what I offer people when they've let go of somebody. If it's sudden, they didn't suffer, or they suffer to give us time. But when I told her she had relapsed, she said, when do they want me back at the hospital? And I said, tomorrow morning. And she said, so we have today? And we went and painted pottery and played putt-putt and ate at her favorite restaurant for lunch and her favorite restaurant for dinner. Like, she decided that's how she emulated to me what the surprise party looks like and how you show up.
Wow.
And choose to celebrate the gift of every day. Don't wait to celebrate. Don't wait to make it special. Like, so we have today. And so that's what we did. And then once she had relapsed and they had done the counts, they told us they could give her steroids to buy time, but it was coming close. And if we wanted to have another family gathering, that now's the time, to prepare and to make it happen. And because of Janae being how she was and making everything a celebration or trying to make it fun, we went to the mall to find a shirt for her to wear to this family barbecue and sunglasses. And I used to do figure competitions. And in this season, I was very OCD about what foods I would eat and what I wouldn't. And she wanted an Annie Ann's pretzel. And I sat with her. She loved to watch me eat. But she tried to taught me to have a pretzel. I didn't. I got her pretzel, got her Coke. We sat there at the table. We're people watching. There used to be a show called What Not to Wear. and we were pretending like we were the host of the show, Stacey and Clinton, and we were like critiquing what people were wearing and what they might wear instead. And she felt guilty that we were like judging people, but we were still having fun. I'm like, we're not doing it to their fit, we're fine. Right. And so as we were giggling, she said, if I could do this every day, I would. And I didn't know what she meant. I didn't know if she meant eat pretzels, people watch, shop at the mall. And I said, what's that, babe? And she said, spend the day with you. And so I go, I don't visit her grave. I talk to her and I'm with her all the time. Mm-hmm. And when I do want to be with her in a certain special way, I go have a pretzel. The pretzel I wouldn't have with her that day, I'll go have a pretzel with her. And it's been a pretty regular, I'd say 4 or 5 times a year, I probably go and have a pretzel and I sit and I people watch and think about that day and how special she continues to be. And I've had some incredible encounters when I go in. Most of the time it's to celebrate. Like a lot of times it's on a Wednesday and the surprise party unfolds all Wednesday. Like I don't get up every Wednesday excited to do this, but it's like going to the gym. Yeah. Times 100. You never go to the gym, workout, and be like, man, I really wish I had stayed in bed and didn't come do this. You always are grateful that you did it. And Wacky Wednesdays are always that for me. I'm always so grateful at the end of the day that I got up and I got wacky and the surprise party unfolded and smiles and pictures and whatever were taken. And so I went to Annie Ann's today and I didn't have a pretzel, actually. I went to see the Annie Ann's team there because they know the story. They love when I come in on Wacky Wednesdays. They're disappointed when it's not a Wacky Wednesday.
Like, why did you come on
I went
Tuesday?
Yesterday. I did. So yesterday I would need to just pop into A&T and I'm like, I'm right here and it's the season. I mean, her bone marrow transplant was December 21st. And so December really takes me back to a whole lot to go back. Christmas, as maybe sad and scary as it was the most sacred and most special Christmas for me. So I don't mind. I love that I have the book and I can revisit and go back and look and experience, different things. But I thought yesterday, I'm like, well, it is season. I don't know when I'm going to be back over here to have a pretzel. So I popped in to get a pretzel and they're like, what are you doing here today? I'm like, well, I'll come back tomorrow and we'll do a picture because I hadn't done a picture with them before. So I whacked them all out today and took a picture and it was a special surprise for them.
So I always say at the beginning to find the takeaway that you can apply to your journey. Like I try to remind people of that up front. I specifically want to point out a takeaway that I take from that. There's plenty of takeaways from everything that we've talked about today. But the life is short and we don't know when we're going to party hard.
Right.
So being grateful for today, like not putting off what things you want to go after, what things you want to do, what you need or want to do to feel fulfilled in your life. That's such a huge takeaway for me to not put it off till tomorrow because we don't know when we're going to party hard.
Right.
It's not promised. We're not promised another day. And so that's a powerful takeaway from the story for me, that I try my best, want to try my best to hold on to remember to carry in terms of holding on to gratitude each day, because each day is a gift.
Yeah. I used to with hashtags when they were a thing, like love and gratitude prevail. And I still believe that those are the two most powerful things that you can use to propel you forward is love and gratitude. Like whether it's love for yourself and what you do for yourself, or love for your clients, love for your family, love for your friends. Strangers even. There's not enough love. If we were pouring out more love and gratitude leads you there, then those triumph over everything else.
Yeah. Motivation wise, like when I talk about people pursuing their goals, I often bring up the importance of motivation, but also the difficulty in maintaining motivation long term. That's one of the hardest things to do. So in terms of talking about that and then your journey of maintaining this over 15 years, can you elaborate on that?
Sure. Well, a lot of times, like I said in the beginning, you're motivated by desperation or inspiration. And I don't think it's a feminine or maternal thing, but I heard that voice say the only way that she was going to make it was to find the one good thing, no matter how much it's surrounded by bad. Now I know that voice of wisdom knew in our terminology she wasn't going to make it.
Yeah.
But it also knew if I had heard it was the only way that I was going to make it, I wouldn't have done it. What I wouldn't do for me, what I would wanted to do for her.
Mm-hmm.
And I know in hindsight, it's the only way any of us are going to make it is to find the good when it's surrounded by bad. So I'm still motivated by seeing the pain and the hurt and the challenges that the world has, where if they could propel themselves with love and gratitude and to keep giving voice to that or example of that, I'm motivated in the difference that I want to make and how I want to contribute to the collective over and over. So much so, or a part of it being, and this was again during Janae's bone marrow transplant. I remember in the hospital, like I said, I was training for these figure competitions, and I would work out in the stairwell. If I couldn't leave to go to the gym, I would get up like at 4 a.m. and be in the stairwell when everybody in the hospital's sleeping before doctors are making rounds, because I wouldn't want to miss when they made the rounds, right? Mm-hmm. So I'd be up and I'd be running stairwells and doing push-ups and jump squats or whatever on the landings before I went back up. And I remember one day I was like, okay, I'm going to do a flight of stairs. I'm going to do this one for Janae. And then I was like, well, I can't do one for Janae and not do one for the rest of them. So I ended up adding 5 more flights back and forth as me offering it up as a prayer for other people. And then when she was going through the bone marrow transplant, it happened again. I was on the treadmill and I had a goal of like doing 30 minutes, I think. And after 5, I'm like, I'm tired. I really can let off today. And it's like that little voice, like, seriously, like she could have given up and she's not. So I dedicated that 30 minutes like as a strength offering or an active prayer for her. And so that's another thing that helps get me over the hump. Like it's certainly a gift for me to work out and to go longer on the,
right.
But making it not active prayer for somebody else and making it more than just about me is another motivator. Mm-hmm. I think that's continually what, through the 15 years of whether it's building a business or getting through different seasons of hardship, it's always what it would mean to somebody else or how I can contribute to somebody else. And making that choice of what I would do differently for the collective or for somebody else, it always is something that helps me too.
Right.
So that's where I find a lot of the motivation if I don't find it for myself alone.
Yeah, I like that. I think it's great to draw on something, and it may be something different for everybody. It's not always the same thing, but finding something like some kind of why that can drive you on those days that you are like, I don't want to do this.
Well, that video that I have of the people saying that I'm the most tenacious, that I'm the most driven. I mean, and I've watched the video several times, and every time I watch it, it makes me want to be more of what they see in me and more of what they have given voice to. So that's another thing that's built in to a gift that's for somebody else and ends up gifting you, you know, like anytime I watch that, it like pumps me up and be like, keep going and keep doing, keeping the change. And
it's a very good reinforcement. It sounds like, have you had other people that you have worked with that like fully on board that you're able to deliver the service at the high level that you want to deliver it?
Yeah, I'm thinking of one in particular. Yes. I mean, yes. And there's a senior that I did one for Mother's Day, a video. And she said the same thing. Like, this makes me want more people, more life, more experience. And that's ultimately what I want us to do, is that we live large. And then when we go out, we're celebrated large, like not for us,
right,
to contribute to the healing and the joy and the reminder that we can't control when somebody party hops. Any life lived is, you know, my mom one time called to tell me that a family member had passed, and she was surprised that I wasn't sad about it. And I said, Mom, if I wasn't sad when Janae party hopped, who am I going to be sad for? And she's like, you mean you're not going to be sad when your dad and I die? And I was like, don't do that. Well, no, I won't. I'll be grateful that I was one of 2 in the entire world that got to be your daughter and influenced by you and Dad, and celebrate that I got to be one of your 3 children more than I'm going to mourn. And my dad actually party hopped January of this year.
Really?
And my experience was radically different than everybody else's because of me having had that experience with Janae, and I talked to him, and, you know, I'll do something, and I know in his perfectionist, because he's so detailed and articulate, I'll do something, and I'm like, I know, Dad, you know, like it's not the great, you know, but I play and talk with him and feel him, and in a very large way, I feel like my relationship's better with him now than it was when he was here, because I didn't follow his footsteps in the church in the way that he would have wanted me to, and as the patriarch, disappointed him in the way that I experienced God versus the way that he imagined that I should experience God. And so now I kind of, like, the last words that I whispered into his ear before they took him off of the machine was, or as they took him off the machine and he'd had his last breath or last moment, I just whispered into his ear and said, now, because he felt like maybe he might be punished, not punished, but that I was having some kind of effect on what his outcome was going to be.
Right.
I never wanted to disappoint him,
Yeah.
but that's where the expansion and the curiosity came from. And knowing that God's not disappointed. God wired me to be this zany, wacky child of his. So, I've come into the part where I embrace it more, where before maybe I was masquerade. I say that you didn't even know I was wearing the mask, but following in his footsteps and doing what I felt like would make my human father proud instead of and now with my trans son, I could call God my boo. I don't think it doesn't matter. Like, there aren't words that capture the creator and who's responsible for this amazing surprise party that is unfolding that we get to experience. So that's not something that everybody embraces as cool or okay. And I've gotten to surrender and let go of the people pleasing and know that I'm not here to challenge anybody as much as invite them into maybe a different experience and ask questions and be okay if you don't know what the answer is.
So this popped into my mind. I often, like, when I hear somebody loses a friend or a family member or somebody close to them, or they party hop, and that in this terminology being completely new to me. I believe a common tendency is to want to empathize or to say, like, I'm sorry for your loss.
Right.
So I noticed that as you're telling me that you lost your father earlier this year, that he party hopped, my first tendency was to say, I'm sorry for your loss. I wanted to say that. And then I was like, that's not the point. That's not what we're trying to get across here.
Right. But it's our culture, and we've been ingrained. It's been so ingrained and so conditioned. Same thing with God or religion or whatever. I used to be annoyed by people that said that they were spiritual and not religious, and I have become that person. So it's kind of funny. Like the humble pie, I always like humble pie is the best pie for you. It's not sweet. It's kind of bitter going down the humble thing, but it's also good to check yourself, and to have that to look into. But so I part of my dare, I feel like in my calling and my purpose is when people say, I'm sorry for your loss. Like, I actually, years ago, somebody that I was talking to on the phone, I don't remember who she was, but she said, I'm sorry for your loss. And I said something like, I appreciate your sympathy and I don't see it as a loss. Like I said, and she I just tried to offer you sympathy and you didn't receive it. Like, that's what she said.
What a response.
It was a bit abrasive. And so I try to frame it now in a way that it's not like, I'll say, thank you. If you had said that, I'd be like, thank you for your sympathy. And would you join me in celebrating her life more than mourning the loss? Because I haven't lost her. Like, I remember on a Wacky Wednesday, I was going to Indianapolis. It's called Rainmakers, a networking thing years ago. And I was dressed wacky and I had a car that was wrapped wacky. And I stopped at a rest area. And when I was coming out into the lobby, this man goes, I'm guessing you go with that car. And I was like, yeah, how did you guess? And so I feel like everything is an opportunity for me to share Janae's story. And because I'm not going to cross that couple's path again. And, or anybody's path again, for me to share that life doesn't end with the last breath, or turn your have tos into get tos. And as I was sharing with him, his wife came out of the restroom and overheard what I was saying. And I could tell the countenance of her face was very heavy and solemn. And she said, we lost our son. I think it was like 3 months ago or whatever it was. And I heard that voice dare me. And, I've touched your arm 3 or 4 times. Like, I was like ready to grab her hand, and I could hear the questioning, like, she may not be a touchy-feely person, but I took her hand and I said, can I ask you 3 questions? And I remember 2 or 3 now, but I was like, do you still feel that your son is with you, sometimes? And would you have traded being his mom? Would you have not been his mom to avoid the pain of getting to let him go, which was like so whatever the third one was, I said, so you know from the answers to those questions that he's still with you. Will you join me, even though we would not have signed on to be in this legion of parents that have let go of our children, to no longer say that you've lost him? And she took me in a massive hug, like a long, like she was I felt the release of that heaviness and that grief for her to accept the invitation to join me in changing the way that we share about it or the dialogue about it. Because any of us, no matter what the story is, you can change the narrative at any point from being victim to being the main character or the hero or whatever, and I felt it was palpable to feel that her story changed in that moment and how she was going to traverse the rest of her journey and the way that she shared the story about her son. So,
I think that for some people it can be challenging to approach it that way because it's not a way that people are used to.
Right.
And so, because what I was going to ask you is, how would you respond to somebody saying, I lost someone, to try to help reframe or teach people a different way to do it? Because I think it's common, but also sometimes people take the path of least resistance, and it can be easy to just say, oh, I'm sorry for your loss, to try to be kind without putting forth any more energy than they have to.
Yes. But I just heard have to, so I would say that we get to respond in a different way. Yeah. Not everybody's going to respond to the call, though. Like you said, not everybody wants to be an advocate or create change. And again, that's where it'd be great if we all did. And I can't control. So I celebrate this. So it's back to the surprise party thing. Yeah. I had a surprise party thrown for me once after my 5th child. Who's expecting a shower or any kind of party after number 5, right? But I was part of a junior women's club in Elkins, West Virginia. And I had not been celebrating this 5th pregnancy that was a surprise. I wasn't celebrating the surprise gift of another life. I was mourning and grieving and complaining about weight that I was gaining. And they had heard it all through the pregnancy. Yeah. And I just had the baby, and I had been, they had named me the committee chair, the art committee chair. And I was told there was a mandatory meeting for all the committee chairs. And I was like, I just had a baby. I don't feel like going. And I don't want them to feel like they chose the wrong person. So I went. And I remember it was at the president's home. And I remember pulling down the street and the cars lining both sides of the street. And I was like, dang, I didn't know we had so many committees in this club. Good thing I came. It would have been a really poor reflection if I hadn't. Right. And when I opened the door, they all screamed, surprise. And it wasn't a baby shower. They were like, I don't have this is before I don't have the hard copy invitation. I wish I did. Okay. But I've been complaining about my weight. And I think they used the B word, like I did a picture about it. And they're like, let's help her lose it. And they had purchased a running stroller for me and running shoes. And I had like 1 pound dumbbells and a Weight Watcher subscription. Okay. So the metaphor and the way that I use that is, there were things that I was given that I loved, and there were things that I was given that I would not have registered if I had known a party was being thrown for me to register only the gifts that I wanted. And I didn't know that this party was being thrown, so there wasn't a guest list that I created. So there were people there that I wouldn't have invited. And I said thank you for everything, whether I wanted the gift or not, whether the person is somebody that I would have invited or not. I was still gracious to say thank you because they were all there to support and celebrate with me. And chose to have more conversation with the people that I would have invited or that are easier for me to converse with. So that's kind of what I'm going back to. Not everybody's going to embrace the dialogue. Not everybody's going to embrace the perspective. And that's okay. That I will go and move and be with the people that want to expand or consider. Yeah. And be grateful for it all. Doesn't mean I got to change everybody's mind. Right. I think that's with anything. Nobody agrees on everything all the time. Right. It's okay. It'd be a boring world, I guess, a boring experience if there weren't some challenging and uncomfortable conversations. Or it's all part of how we grow and relate. Yeah. So I'm loving learning from the perspective. I could have this conversation all day, but for the sake of time, they're like, oh, come back later. Well, episode 2, you all. So because I have to wrap up for time, I can't just talk with you all night because I'm loving it. We get to wrap it up. Because I get to wrap this. See, I'm working on it. Work in progress. I know, but see, that's whether it's loss or whatever. I feel like I'm wired for the dare or the boldness, and frame it in a way that we can laugh about it or giggle, and it's not be abrasive to say that it's easy and it takes practice. Like I said, it's 15 years in for me to catch every have to and turn it into gift. And it's playful. And when you start doing it and experience it in your own personal experience, as far as when you feel the shift, and then the more that you're doing it or teaching your daughter, Aaliyah. Yeah. Because I mean, I have shared that in times where maybe it wasn't, like I wasn't sure it was going to be received, or somebody wanted to hear it at an airport, or I've been I'm thinking of an email that I got just recently, like from Santan City, like 12 years ago. She found me. It wasn't an email. She found me on Facebook Messenger to tell me. And I think she was like complaining about work, the things that she had to do. Maybe she had to leave and go do something.
Right.
And I felt the dare to pull her aside. I mean, so I pull her aside and I tell her about that turning your have tos into get tos, and probably gave her a get to wristband. And then like 12, 15 years later, probably more than 12, because what she shared with me when she reached out to me on Facebook Messenger was I probably wouldn't remember her working at Suntan City and me sharing with her to not complain and to find the gratitude that she did not have children then, but she had a 12-year-old now who she had raised to turn her have tos into get tos, and how, like how you can put a price on that. And whether I'd ever, how many more people could there be that I heard the dare, I call it a divine dare, and responded, and it could be not received and be okay. Like when you go to, our only responsibility is to offer the gift. It's not to make sure they use it. True. Or to make sure that they say thank you for it.
That's a good point.
Right?
Yeah.
Like when whether it's in your goaltending workshops or in fitness or whatever, like your gift is to share the information and not be so consumed with whether people are using it or not. It's great to get the feedback and know that they are, or to know that you help facilitate and help them reach a goal, and to not take it personally if they don't.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I get to wrap this thing up.
Zip it.
I'm so thankful. So much gratitude that we got to share this time today. That we were able to share this information with the audience, because truly think it's impactful. So many takeaways, but the big focus on gratitude, the not taking life for granted, not taking things too seriously. So I'm glad we got to do it on a Wacky Wednesday, and I'm going to make sure that I release the episode on a Wednesday as well.
Awesome.
In tribute to that. So I just want to give you the opportunity to share, how can people get in contact with you, reach you? Is there anything you want to promote or let people know about?
Okay, sure. I'm on Instagram as Surprise Invite, and Denise Metzger on Facebook. I do have a Surprise Invite page. I've not been real strategic and consistent in content, but I'm always open for speaking engagements. I have a Wacky Wednesday tour right now where I go, depending on what center wants, if they want the first Wednesday of the month at this time, where it's a consistent Wacky Wednesday party. And certainly to celebrate loved ones, whether it's for the client themselves or for somebody in their family, the videos are a phenomenal gift. I mean, Diana was like, "You give me the gift of my lifetime." She's 74, and it's just really invaluable to have us share and say to somebody what they mean, the influence and the inspiration in our lives now, to tell them now instead of waiting until after they're no longer here to hear it. So the video work is, and then just ask me questions, reach out, message me. I'll always respond, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Because like I said, it's really complex to understand what it is I do, but all kinds of options for positive perspective, living life fully, and being okay with when the party hop comes.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Well, absolutely. I appreciate you taking the time again, and I'll make sure that I drop links in the comments for you all to be able to get a hold of Denise and reach out, whether it's to have a conversation, to have a fantastic speaker, or to have somebody to help with the event planning and videography. So I'll make sure that you all have that available. I want to thank you all for tuning in, allowing us to be a part of your journey. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share it with somebody, because this is very impactful. Like we said throughout the conversation, it's not for everybody, but I promise you know somebody that this is for. So share it, join the conversation, because I know that there's tons of questions to ask around this topic. So join the conversation, drop some comments and some questions. Let's continue the conversation beyond this, and let's grow together.